Well, hey everybody, we are live. Max Students Daily Devo Week 2, Wednesday night Devo. We've got me. I am Daniel. I am the family pastor here at Mag Church. We've got, let's see if I can do this. I'm hitting buttons down here, y'all. Yeah, we got this guy right here. His name is John Pimpo. He is youth leader extraordinaire. So we just want to say thanks for tuning in tonight. We are going to be giving some details later about how to win a Starbucks gift card. We'll be doing that at the end of this, so keep tuning in if you want to know how to win Starbucks. Oh, free Starbucks gift card worth. If you saw our Instagram story earlier today, you saw that it was worth $7 million. $7 million to Starbucks. All you got to do. Okay, I can't lie anymore. It's $5. But hey, that'll cost a drink or two if you just get regular coffee. So, I don't know, John. When's the last time you went to Starbucks?
Uh, it's been a while. I'm not a huge Starbucks guy.
Oh wait. Oh, you're
I'm
muted.
more of a Dunkin' guy.
I got you muted. Hold on a second. Oh no. You there?
Hello, hello.
Ah, poot. Okay. Technical difficulties. We'll be back in a second. All right. Well, we're not going to go anywhere, but give me a second. Oh man. Talk a little bit, John.
Technology is fun. Hello.
No,
I
I
lost
lost
you.
you.
I'm still here.
Keep saying something.
Here, I'm professing my love of
Oh
Dunkin'
no.
versus
Okay.
my love of
You might still
Starbucks.
be there. Uh, Here, let's do this. Oh no, I got you. Okay, you're still there. You were never gone. You were never
Oh,
gone. That was my fault. Totally my fault.
I'm
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 so sorry. Hey,
omnipresent.
so all right, so let me ask and let me hear this answer this time. When's the last time you went to Starbucks?
It's been a couple weeks. I'm not a huge Starbucks guy. I'm more of a Dunkin' guy. I might
Okay.
this temple runs on Dunkin'. I would prefer to go that route. You got the gift card, caramel macchiato away.
Yeah, I'm a white chocolate mocha guy myself. But
Yeah. Did you just admit that vocally?
yeah, I did. Can't take that back. It's on the internet. It's forever. So we are going to be talking about tonight a pretty heavy subject. We're going to be talking about why bad things happen. We want to talk about it for a reason. John, talk to them about this overall subject, though, for a little bit, getting them ready for something like this.
Oh, this is a huge topic. I mean, this is one of those things that even as adult Christians, that really lots of people and understand things happen, why things happen, and it comes back to basic salvation of how do we get to heaven. It's basic understandings of what we believe, and it really gets people to say, as good as I want to do, great. The Bible says he's our daddy and he wants good things for us. But at the same time, we live in a fallen. Stuff is going to happen in this fallen world, and it's because of and stuff is going to happen, and we have to have a good perspective on this. And I think that's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, because this is just like, anybody saw Daniel's Wednesday night talking about how as baby Christians, we ate baby food, and then as adult Christians, we're supposed to, even eat more mature, real food. And this is one of those kind of conversations where we have to say, this is a heavy weighted conversation, and this is something that isn't, this is next level theology of trying to figure out how and why things happen. So this is always a good conversation to have, and not something to shy away from. So we're talking to you about it tonight.
I definitely agree. This is something that we kind of ponder it's a lifelong thing that we kind of talk about, and it's something that it's never really defined. I mean, we can come to a conclusion, but still, I think we as humans, we still kind of ask that question when calamity happens, when things that are out of our control happen. And we also have people out there that will, when you're given the opportunity, when bad things happen. Like I remember a few years ago, well, it's more than a few years ago, when Hurricane Katrina happened down there in Louisiana. Because I lived down there when it all happened. I remember people blaming God and saying, "Why would God let this happen?" and all that kind of stuff. And then there was people out there, like silly people, who want to make the broad claim, "Well, this is a warning sign from God. This is God's judgment. This is a sign of the end times," and all that kind of stuff. But the issue with that is they say that every time something happens, and it's just that's their go-to. It makes them feel comfortable, and instead of being uncomfortable sometimes, it's like a blanket, "Oh yeah, this is God's judgment," when really it really could just be the way that the weather works, or the way that things happen. And that's really what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about this big word called sovereignty, and God's sovereignty. And so I have a couple of articles. I'm actually going to be posting them. I think it's going to be over there in the comments later. These articles, these kind of definitions about sovereignty and about during this time, and we want to kind of use those tonight to talk about this thing called sovereignty and what it means in times of turmoil, in times of, man, we really don't know what's going on. And because so many people around us, including ourselves sometimes, so many people around us are asking the question, why would God let this happen? If God is all powerful, if God is all knowing, then why did he let that happen? But I think that's the wrong question to ask. It's not why would God let this happen, is how can we use this to point people to God? And so, yeah, a lot of pointing.
Well, and that article, and that article that you're going to share later, it really had some really great insights in that. It's so many times we condemn ourselves because we think the wrong way, or we get too legalistic on things of, I shouldn't be thinking that way, or all this kind of stuff. And you look back, I look at the great heroes of the Bible, and you look at David, and how much in Psalms and how much he pours out his heart, saying about why is this happening, why is this going on, all this kind of stuff. But when you really dive into what also happens at the same time, is that he does ask why, he does inquire, he wants to know what's going on, but at the same time he always comes back to praise, always comes back to thanking God for everything that he's done, thanking him for who he is, thanking him for his sovereignty. But there's nothing wrong with asking why. Right. I did a whole sermon series on the Thomas generation, and of students who I actually, and this could be controversial, could be discussion point, but to a point where telling students that it's okay to ask why. It's okay. Thomas always gets such a bad rap for wanting to see the wounds in Jesus, and he always gets such, you're such a doubting Thomas, you go, this negative thing. But being a doubting Thomas is not necessarily a bad thing. It's one just inquiring and wanting to know, and if your heart is in the right spot and you're wanting to know that you know that you know, asking internal questions is not a bad thing anytime.
No, I've been telling students that the whole for years on years on years. It's okay to ask questions. We just have to make sure that we find the answers in the right places. And so I to me personally, John, I think you believe this too. The Bible is full of answers. And so, so yeah, it's I've always been okay with people asking questions. And I'll tell them up front, listen, if I don't know the answers, we'll find the answers. But yeah, I'm okay definitely asking questions, and especially in times of, man, we don't really know what's going on. like the times we're in now, asking questions and seeking out answers is first of all, we got plenty of time to do that. And so,
Nothing but downtime.
um, so yeah, so I think it's always good to ask questions. All right, so this thing about God's sovereignty, there's three theological words that I practiced pronouncing before we came on live, uh, because first of all, it's not it's not spelled the way that it sounds, and
Sovereign.
I have for
So,
years
yeah.
I have for years been bothered by this word. Okay, so these three theological words is omniscient.
Say it how it's spelled first.
It's spelled omniscience.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's spelled omniscience, but it's pronounced omniscient, or omniscience.
How would your southern friends pronounce that?
Oh well, I'll tell you. I always try to say like omniscience. I always like you're trying to say Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
That was yeah. This was. I would always say. Uh, I would always say he's all knowing.
There you go.
So the omniscient means
omnipotent is such a better option.
yes. Omnipotent
it just
is
flows
another
better.
word, and then omnipresent is the last one. So those mean he's everywhere. He's all knowing and he's all powerful. And
Yep.
so I think sometimes we get this a lot of blowback against non-Christians and non-believers. John, I don't know if you've heard this phrase before, or this question, or this comeback where, well, if God is all powerful, then he's not sovereign, and because he allows bad things, or he either allows bad things to happen, which means he's not all good, or he can't stop bad things from happening because he's not all powerful. Have you ever heard that, John?
Absolutely, and that's one of those. Again, those are certain things, and those are within denominational issues sometimes as well. Because even as Christians, we'll fight about those kind of things,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of stuff that Satan uses to divide us. And those are the kind of things that you can't dwell on those things so many times. But absolutely, God's in control. Like I said last week, is like this Corona thing didn't catch him by surprise. He knew it was coming, and it is what it is.
Well, and so with that knowledge, people who haven't really gotten to the point of I'm going to submit to God's sovereignty, or they're still wrestling with it, they're still trying to learn more about that, and what it means for them personally. They kind of have an issue, they kind of have a problem understanding that bad things happen to good people.
Yep.
And so but also and also good things happen to bad people. And so we think, man, it's not fair. But life is
and
not
I
fair.
equate that was one of the things that and I think that even not to be generational, but I think that even the millennial culture has some challenges with this. Younger lots of people have different concepts with this, but growing up in a military family, this is one of the things that I kind of equated to being in a more structured upbringing. In that, how I relate to God is that it's falling under His sovereignty, His majesty, His kingship, to know that He's in control. And it's a humbling experience for when you unzip yourself and you ultimately say you're in control. Not to endorse any movies, but the Bruce Almighty, at least it's somewhat, it is what it is. But at the point of the end of that movie where he completely breaks down and says, "You're in control." He was trying to play God the whole time, and at the end, he finally breaks out, and it's a touch at the heartstring kind of a thing, where he finally says, "You're in control." That's where we all need to get to that point to realize that He is ultimately in control, and we can fight as much as we want to, but at the end of the day, He's going to run the show.
Agreed. And so that authority, and it really, I love what you said. It's kind of the upbringing that you have. First of all, we Americans can't really understand kingship because we've never had that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard for us to understand that type of authority, even though it's not an earthly authority. It's a heavenly, it's an eternal authority that God has. Um, and then like you said, generational, or how we're brought up, how we're raised is definitely, um, that all kind of builds into this sovereignty, authority, and free will, and all this kind of
Well,
stuff that we. So
you look at the prior the 40s and 50s generations, where they were, really kind of raised in a different light, and then you get
yeah,
the 60s generation, which is all about, free love and that whole thing, and then you get in the 80s generation where it was all about me,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
you get, as you break down generationally, that's how you keep continually stepping away from God, from his ownership.
It's because I think we, and really it's not a generational thing. It could be, but I think we've become more self-centered. As technology grows to be more self-reliant, and so maybe generations are buying into that a little bit differently. But I think all of us have become a little bit more self-centered when it comes to the way that we think about our lives because of technology and stuff. So I do want to point out when it comes to because okay, so God has sovereignty, God has authority over everything. He's all powerful, he's all knowing, he's everywhere. Um, but the Bible also tells us. So people could ask, well, why does God let? There's a few biblical things to talk about where God gives us choices. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15 through 19, I'm going to read a little bit just now. Deuteronomy 30, 15 through 19. Now listen to this is God talking. Today I am giving you a choice between life and death, between prosperity and disaster. For I command you this day to love the Lord your God and keep his commands, decrees, and regulations by walking in his ways. If you do this, you will live and multiply, and the Lord your God will bless you and the land you are about to enter and occupy. So he goes on to say, and so he definitely tells us, listen, the choice is yours. Whether you're going to live for God and live in his authority, follow his purpose, follow his plan, or do your own thing. And I think that the simple answer to why do bad things happen is that we live in a sinful world. And people, ever since Adam and Eve, have been choosing selfishness and their own desires over what God has for them. And so our world has been broken because of that. Because of Adam and Eve, our world is broken. And so the systems that are in place, the laws of uh, science, the law of gravity and all this kind of stuff, way over my head. Those were all set in place by God, but because of a sinful world, because of a broken world, things like hurricanes, things like tornadoes, things like that happen. Um, and so but when it comes to personal decisions, John, like if somebody said, well, why did this happen to so and so, or why did so and so do this to so and so? Well, that's really a personal decision, isn't it? It's not because of a hurricane or something like that. That's a decision that we both can that we all can make ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I always think of it that there's a veil, where God knows what's going to happen. It's like a movie cliche of, one way or the other way of what direction you're going to go, but
Yeah.
ultimately God knows what's going to happen. So on the other side of that veil, He knows what's going to happen. But on this side of the veil, you've got that choice to make whatever you want to do. Ultimately, yes, He knows what's going to happen. He knows the future, but you don't, and it's your opportunity to make that left or right choice of what you want to do. But at the end of the day, God still disciplines the ones He loves, and there are consequences for our actions. And every choice we make, you want to get super theological, that every choice we make, God knows what that choice is. And honestly, those choices are going to be it's going to be a choice that's going to be blessing and fantasticness, or it's going to be a choice that is going to cause learnings and ways for you to look. So every choice is a good choice, so to speak. Thinking about it theoretically, because God's going to ordain that choice. It's going to be what He already knew was going to happen. It's just going to be what the consequences are. Is it going to be blessings or is it going to be learnings?
Yeah. So this is, and what you were just saying in Exodus chapter 20, it tells us that God, we are responsible for the choices that we make, for the consequences, whether they're good or bad. We are responsible. He says, you must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children. So he's saying, listen, you're going to be responsible for your decisions, for your actions. And I think it even goes into Romans, where it says there, the price is, I'm having John, help me out here. The wages of sin is death. Everybody's
saying, hey, there we go.
That's
I didn't know.
That's where I was going.
I can't physically see you, so once if I had a high sign, if you can be giving me like something, I couldn't.
I'm
get
drowning
nothing.
here. I'm drowning. I was like, man, I know in my head. I just keep for some reason, but so the wages of everybody's sinned, everybody's messed up, and the wages of sin is death. We, because of our sin, the consequences of that is death. Is separation from God. But because of God's grace and God's love for us, He has made a way for us to be back in relationship with Him, and that's through His Son Jesus Christ. But I think, it's John, it's difficult for me for like during this coronavirus thing. I think people have been trying to make a name for themselves sometimes when they try to say, it's trying to like promote themselves more than the real issues. When it comes to Christianity, sometimes they're all about, well, like I said, silly people will take advantage of people during those times. Yep. And so you've got people that are saying, yes, this is a judgment from God, and this is a warning, this is the end times happening, and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, like, you can't hear my eyes roll, John, but they are when I hear things like that, because it's those same people who over and over again will say this kind of stuff, and it's just ugh. All right, so sorry, moving on. So this other article that we want to talk about tonight, it was by a theologian, super smart guy, way over my head. Adam
Allen?
He knows so much. No, not you, John.
No, I said Adam. I think it was Adam Allen.
No, yes, Pastor Adam. He wrote this. No, a guy named N.T. Wright, who is British, which I think they're all smarter than us anyway, right? Just because of the way they sound. I think the accent gives them, like a bump.
Throw a shrimp on the barbie. Oh, no, that's Australian.
That's Australian. So good day, mate.
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips. You talk to your mum. That was an off. That's it for me. I can't do accents. But N.T. Wright, who's a super smart guy, he wrote this, and what intrigued me, because I know this guy's a Christian. I know he loves God. He's a super smart. He's a scholar. He's a theologian. So I knew that there was something to this. The title of the article, and you'll see it in the comments below, Christianity offers no answers about the coronavirus. So I was like, okay, well, color me intrigued. So I took a gander at it, and he's talking about how this is actually, that Christianity doesn't actually offer any answers to this, but it's really not meant to, and he talks about how people will take advantage of it and use all that kind of stuff. But he talks about, and this is what I want to talk about, this word lament. And it's really not a word, John, that we use a lot in our modern day vocabulary. Have you ever said the word lament lately? John? You there? Oh, I think John froze.
I stick together driver's license. Is that what you do when you You put two pieces of plastic together, and then is that you?
Oh
you
no,
lament
I'm
something?
sorry. That's laminate. Laminate. No, this is lament. There's a whole actual. And I know you're totally kidding. But for those that are watching, there's a whole book in the Bible called Lamentations, and it's about somebody that is lamenting. And so this is what lament means. This is what the author of this article. Where is it? It is right. Oh poot. I should have highlighted it. Okay, this is what it says. I actually had it right there in the center, and I was moving it around. This is what he says lament means. He goes, when lament is what happens when people ask why and don't get an answer. And I think that's something that's very uncomfortable for Christians because we expect to have all the answers. You know, the Bible's going to tell us all the answers, but he goes on to explain that sometimes, you know, sometimes we don't get the answer that we want. And so I think for us, this time that we have, you know, in seclusion, in quarantine, whatever you want to call it, in self-isolation, whatever you want to call it, is a good time to lament. It's a good time to reach out to God. And like we said earlier, ask why. It's okay to ask why. It's okay to ask God, why is this happening? But I think the action that we need to have is, how can I be used in this circumstance? In what's going on, how can I be used? How can I be a light to my friends? How can I be a light to my family? How can I be hands and feet, the hands and feet of Jesus? How can I be that to people around me in my circle of influence? He goes on to talk about how Psalms, and John, did you already talk about Psalms earlier?
Yeah, just how David and how he went from always asking why, but always praising all those things that it's all in the article. It's a fantastic article. It sheds a lot of light and some good questions, so it's definitely worth a read. It's very, very fast.
Yeah, I totally agree. He goes on to at the end of it, and this is I think we can get to the end of this, where he talks about how God actually grieves with us sometimes, and he's not like removed from our struggle. He's not absent in this time. It's not that at all. It's actually he grieves with us. He laments with us sometimes, and it was a great. He uses the example of Jesus. You know, Jesus when God came back to his people, when he came to us with skin on, if you will, in person with Jesus Christ, he grieved when he was at the tomb of his friend. You might have heard the story of Lazarus. Lazarus died, and Jesus went to his tomb, and he grieved. He was sad. He wept. The Bible says.
Shortest verse in the Bible.
Yeah, shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. Bible quiz answer right there. But you know, he had the power to raise him from the dead, and he did. But in that moment, he took a moment to feel what humans feel, and because he was 100% man, 100% God, and he grieved in that moment. He lamented. He was.
And it was interesting how I've heard some commentaries on that as well to say, he not only was he grieving, for Mary and Martha at the loss, he was feeling their pain and was sharing with them, but he was also feeling that he felt that pain himself because his friend died. So I think there's lots of he was sad he was sad, but he was also sad for them, and so he really felt all the emotions at that point.
I definitely agree with that, and so he goes on to say that this time is this time that we're in, this quarantine, this flattening the curve time, or whatever you want to call it. It's a good opportunity for Christians to lament with people, to get to the point where maybe we don't have all the answers, but we are still hands and feet to people. We pray for people that need prayer. We conversate with people who are lonely. we do our part to help us all get through this thing. If you see the thing behind me, I have a little sign that says "We'll get through this." I definitely believe that. Um, and now is an awesome opportunity to really focus on what matters most. I think that we sometimes have all these different priorities, but this time that we have for however long, I know at least till the end of April,
Yep.
we have an awesome opportunity to refocus our priorities. And
Did you see though? Now this is fake news. I'm letting this out right now that kids are gonna have to start school in July, and they have to restart their whole grade over again.
oh, no, what? No, you heard that wrong. You heard that wrong. What happened is breaking news. I saw right before we got on here. Everybody's going to have to start over in August, and you have to repeat the grade
That's
that you
what it
were
is.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to have
Yeah.
to, if you were in ninth grade, you're going to have to do ninth grade all over again.
Sorry.
So,
April Fools.
Hashtag April Fools. Sorry, I had to do that. But yeah, no, I think this is a great opportunity we have to refocus our priorities. And so we want to do that. All right. So, John, great conversation, great topic tonight. Super, super important for us to understand this. And instead of dismissing it, because I think students, I think people who are watching, we've all, like I said earlier, we've all asked that question. Why do bad things happen, or why would God allow this to happen? And so instead of dismissing that and maybe having maybe an unhealthy thought about it, I think it was great that we talked about it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, all right, so I want to move to this Starbucks thing. First of all, thanks for joining us this long. It's been 34 minutes into this thing. You guys are awesome.
Can I win the Starbucks gift card if I like and share? Can I win it?
I'll put you in the running, but I'm not going to pick you.
Oh, there you go.
It will be totally
random.
Hey,
it's just it fits into our conversation tonight where I have a choice, I can do it, but ultimately you're in control.
You are correct. You are correct. You have yes. This is going to be totally random. No, it will be, promise. If you
no, really, it'll be random. Really.
I winked, John. You couldn't see that, but I winked.
Well, here's the thing. So I can't win. Your mom can't win, and nobody in Alabama can win, and nor anybody in the Middle East.
From Alabama. It's going to be strictly for those in Medina, Ohio, and I will probably give special treatment to the students of Max students.
There you go.
I'll probably put them in 3 or 4 times compared to everybody else, but that doesn't mean, John, that you can't win. It just means that I'm going to stack the deck against you.
Daniel, I'm already a winner in my heart.
Jesus loves me. I might not be cool, but that's okay. My God loves me anyway. Okay. So to win this Starbucks gift card, you have to like, share, either on Facebook, on Instagram, because we're going to put it on IGTV later, and / or YouTube, so because we're going to put it on that too. So any one of those 3, and I'll give you 24 hours. All right. So by this time tomorrow, like, share, comment if you want to. It might give you another chance to win. So like, share, comment on Facebook, Instagram, and / or YouTube, and you'll be entered into this thing right here, $7 million to Starbucks. You're going to be greatly disappointed if you think there's $7 million on this card. Yeah, you're going to go to Starbucks. I'm going to buy all of Starbucks. Actually, there's nobody going to be there because you can't.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Nope.
All right. John, anything else you want to mention before we sign off for the night?
That is all. Same stuff everybody else is saying. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Get out and support some local communities. We went out and shout out to Coffee Colony. Went out and supported my local coffee colony today. Spent way too much money on coffee over there today, but a great store pickup over there. So get over and support your local businesses, and find somebody to help. Find somebody in need. Get out there and help. Be hands and feet.
I love it. I love it.
Feet.
All right, John. We'll see you later, man. All right, so that was our live Devo tonight. We're going to be putting this up on Facebook and YouTube, and well, it's already on Facebook. We're going to put it on YouTube and Instagram as well, IGTV. You can go to it's all, let me see if I can bring this up here. Mag Students, just search for that on Instagram. On YouTube, it'll be under Mag Church. So look for Mag Church Daily Devo, and you should be able to find it there. Message us if you can't find it. We'll give you the link. I'll probably actually put the link below so that you can go to it. But yeah, we thank you so much for watching all this craziness. We hope that we were theologically sound. But we were live, and so we just want to be able to share some thoughts. This is a tough question, no doubt, and it's not one to be dismissed. It's not one to not be talked about. So that's why we wanted to talk about it. We never want to shy away from tough questions. I don't know if you ever heard this story, but years and years ago, Steve Jobs, who is the founder of Apple, when he was younger, he asked his priest or pastor or whatever kind of church he was in, he asked him a similar question, like, why does God know that this is happening over in another country? Like, people starving and stuff like that. And the priest just said, yeah, he does. And so Steve never went back to church. And so we never want to dismiss tough questions. We always want to talk about them and wrestle through them together. So if you ever have a question, you can comment, you can message us. We are here for you, and we love you. I want to do a quick prayer, and then we'll sign off tonight. God, thank you so much for tough questions. Thank you that we can wrestle through this together. And I pray that myself, John, and everybody watching would be able to submit to the authority that you have over us, because you are all powerful, you are all knowing, and you are everywhere. And because of that, you have power and authority, and help us to submit to that, even when it makes us uncomfortable, even when it's not what we had hoped would happen. But we know that you have everything under control, that none of this is outside of your plan, none of this is catching you off guard, and we believe that all this is just temporary to begin with. All this is temporary, and then we know that one day you will come back and everything will be perfect. in the big picture, when it comes to eternity, we know that you will reign forever and be on the throne. And I can't wait for that day. God, thank you so much for tough questions. In your name I pray. Everybody said, amen. We love you guys. Thanks for joining us. I hope you have a great night. Let me see right here. Let me actually get rid of that one. Yeah, one of these days I'll figure out how to hit all the right buttons. Okay, bye.